What you're proposing here, what the president's proposing here, does not sound like it's in keeping with American tradition when it comes to immigration. The Statue of Liberty says, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free." It doesn't say anything about speaking English or being able to be a computer programmer. Aren't you trying to change what it means to be an immigrant coming into this country if you're telling them you have to speak English? Can't people learn how to speak English when they get here?
Well, first of all, right now, it's a requirement that it be naturalized, you had to speak English. So the notion that speaking English wouldn't be a part of our immigration systems would be actually very ahistorical. Secondly, I don't want to get off into a whole thing about history here, but the Statue of Liberty is a symbol of liberty enlightening the world. It's a symbol of American liberty lighting the world. The poem that you're referring to that was added later is not actually part of the original Statue of Liberty, but more fundamentally, the history, but more fundamentally,
you're saying
the
that
history,
that does not represent
I'm saying that,
what
I'm
the
saying
country
that the
has always
notion,
thought of
I'm
as
saying the notion
immigration
that
coming into this
I'm saying the
country?
notion.
I'm sorry.
No,
that sounds
Jim,
like,
let me ask you a question.
That sounds like some national park revisionism.
No,
the
what I'm asking you is,
Statue of Liberty
Jim,
has always
Jim,
been
let me
a
ask you a
beacon of
question.
hope to the world
Jim,
for people to send
Jim, do you
their
believe,
people to this country,
Jim,
and they're not always going to speak
Jim,
English, Stephen.
Jim,
they're not
do you
always
believe,
going to be highly skilled. They're not always
Jim,
going to be
Jim,
so many
Jim, I
people
appreciate your speech. Jim, I appreciate your speech. So let's talk about this.
It was a modest
Jim, let's talk about this. In 1970, when we let in 300,000 people a year, was that violating or not violating the Statue of Liberty law of the land? In the 1990s, when it was 500,000 a year, was it violating or not violating the Statue of Liberty law of the land?
Was it violating?
When it was 700,000 a year. No, tell me what years. Tell me what years. Tell me what years meet. Tell me what years meet Jim Acosta's definition of the Statue of Liberty poem law of the land. So you're saying 1 million a year is the Statue of Liberty number. 900,000 violates it. 800,000 violates it.
You're sort of bringing a
Jim,
press one for English philosophy here to
Jim,
immigration, and that's never
for,
been
Jim,
what the United States has been about, Steve.
But you're also your statement's also shockingly ahistorical in another respect too, which is if you look at the history of immigration, it's actually ebbed and flowed. We've had periods of very large waves, followed by periods of less immigration and more immigration, and during the we've had
a period of immigration right now. The
Yeah,
president wants to build a wall,
actually,
and you want to bring about a sweeping change to the
surely,
immigration
Jim,
system.
you don't actually think that a wall affects green card policy. You couldn't possibly believe that, do you? Actually, the notion that you actually think immigration is at a historic law, the foreign-born population in the United States today, Jim,
talking about how border crossings.
Do you really? I want to be serious, Jim. Do you really at CNN not know the difference between green card policy and illegal immigration?
Sir,
you really don't know that?
Cuban immigrant. He came to this country in 1962, right before the Cuban Missile Crisis, and obtained a green card. Yes, people who immigrate to this country
Jim,
can eventually. People who
so Jim,
immigrate
it's
to
a
this
factual
country
question,
through.
Jim.